So let's put our focus on our next topic, that is loops. So what loops actually is? Loops means when we want to use our code multiple times, that then we use certain loops so that we can use our code again and again. We don't need to call it again and again. Just you use the loop and it will execute your statements as according to your needs. So in fact, what are loops? Loops is just a control statement. It just passes control to the control in the program. Okay, so for your successful execution of the program, we always use loops. In your games, in your sometimes softwares, in everything, whatever you want, loops is the basic phenomena in C++. Why I'm using a phenomena? Because it is so common and so important, because sometimes you would get confused because there are nesting loops, loops within loops within loops. So loops are so important because they are actually the control structures. They control the execution of the program. Okay, so now our first loop that is used in our C++ programming is for loop. Okay, so let's just use that loop. First thing first, I want to tell you what is the difference between for loop, while loop, and do while loop. Remember one thing in your mind. This is the question of the I think I was in the Accenture and the interviewer asked me this question. This was his first question when he asked me, do you know C++ language? Okay, I told him yes, I'm very comfortable in it. So first question was that. So tell me what is the difference between for loop, while loop, and do while loop. So the difference between for, while, and do while loop is that we use for loop in that situation when we know how many times our loop will be executed. We know the actual time, we know the actual limit, how many times our loop will be executed. So in that scenario, we use for loop. So what is a for loop? A for loop is an entry control loop, and it used only when we know that our action will be repeated in a predefined number of times. We know how many times our loop will be executed. On the other hand, while loop is used when we don't know how many times our action will be repeated. We don't know the limit, we don't know the number of times that our program will be executed. So in that situation, we use while loop. And talking about do while loop is slightly different from these two loops. In why? Because in do while loop, our loop will be executed at least one time, and after that the situation will be checked. Means, suppose there are two things in here. Do while means our program will execute the statement or the condition that we have applied at least one time, and after that the condition will be checked whether it is true or false. So in do while loop, at least one time the loop will be executed. So this is the basic difference between these three loops. So you have to know the difference between these three because this is so important question in C++ programming. Okay, so let us use these loops in our program. First, let's include header files. Now include console input output.h using name space standard. Now int main, this is the scope. So we are using for loop. Okay, in the for loop we'll specify the condition in a predetermined number of time that we need to define a certain value so that our for loop will be executed perfectly. So let us define an integer value, that is a. Okay, and initialize its value to 0. Okay, now semicolon, a equals to 0. How many times we want our loop to be executed? A should be less than equal to 10 and increments its value to a plus plus, and this is the scope of the loop. So what do you understand by this? This means our for loop will be executed in these conditions. What that means? in the beginning we initialize the value of integer a that is equal to 0, and we defined a condition. What is the condition? The condition is that the value of a should be less than equal to 10. Okay, and we are incrementing its value a plus plus, that is after one sequence of statement executed, the value of a will be incremented by 1. So now when suppose cout will print the value a as such, and this is how we're gonna enter our statement. After the scope, our main function is having a return type int, so return return 0. Okay, so after that what we're gonna do, here you can see we defined for loop like a equal to 0. In the beginning value of a is 0, a should be less than equal to 10, that is our condition, and we are incrementing its value by a plus plus. So when first loop will be executed, the output stream will have Akash. Okay, now next line, now again our loop, the value of a is increased by 1, so now a will be having one value. It is still 1 is less than 10, condition is true. Now this loop will be executed. Again value of a is incremented, now values of a 2, again the loop will be executed. In the same way the loop will be executed till a equals 10, that is 10 is 11, sorry 11. So 11 is less than equal to 10, false, so the condition will be violated. Now the control will be passed to the return statement and our program will be executed. So save it, compile it, and run it. So you can see 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 times our loop is executed. Don't be confused. The value of a was 0, so 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, so total of 11. So after that when the value of a get the value 11, the rule will be violated and the control will pass to the return 0. Now you can say return 0, press any key to continue. So this is all about for loop. Okay, now we're gonna proceed on our second loop, that is